Mr. Amin. Mr. Shashi Amin has got a vast experience of 29 years in cable industry, having worked in sales and marketing in various cable companies India and abroad. Shashi Amin has a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering and also a master's degree in marketing management. He started his career in Nico Cables as a trainee engineer, and when he left, he was a branch head in Mumbai. Besides Nico, he has also had a privilege of working in the world's largest cable company named BICC, which has almost 34 factories all over the world. Presently, Mr. Shashi Amin is in Polycab, heading the cable division as President and SBU head responsible for sales of cables. Mr. Shashi Amin.
Thank you, Parish. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable Chief Guest, Mr. Pankaj Batra, Chairperson of Central Electricity Authority, Vice President of IEEMA, Mr. R.K. Chuk, Director General IEEMA, Mr. Sunil Mishra. Warm welcome to you, sir. I would also take the privilege of welcoming the session chairman, the authors, co-authors, panelists, delegates from utilities, consultants, and CableWire manufacturers, even materials. A warm welcome to everyone. I'll just take a few seconds on the cable division as such. We are one of the 20-odd divisions in IEEMA, and probably we are the largest division as far as volume is concerned, as far as IEEMA is concerned. And we've been doing this CableWire conference for last 35 years. The first conference happened way back in 1983, and this is our 8th edition of International CableWire Conference. The last event happened in Mumbai in 2011. When initially we had planned that every 4 years this event will happen, but this event today is happening after a gap of 7 years. Our sincere apologies to all of you for delaying this activity, and we'll ensure that this does not happen, that we have this event once in 4 years going forward. Now, coming back to cable division of IEEMA, we have about 110 odd manufacturers who are members of IEEMA. I would request some of the non-members who are sitting here, if they wanted to enroll themselves, they're most welcome. The activities, what we do is, besides this, IEEMA does a lot of other activities. We meet once in 3 months, either in Delhi or Mumbai. We've got a committee which takes care of the division with the help of the Secretariat of IEEMA, where various issues are discussed. Like we receive letters from utilities and customers on technical aspects. We receive letters on price variation clarifications. We do these discussions once in 3 months. If there is an urgency, then we also do have web call and web meetings, like public procurement cell, what Mr. Sunil Mishra mentioned about it. So we are also actively involved in those kind of activities. Now, coming back to CableWire conference, in all we have received around 60 odd papers from 51 manufacturers. We have a technical committee headed by Mr. Yogendra Tiwari of KEC, and he's got his team members who evaluated the entire 60 papers in a short span of about 1.5 months, a Herculean task, I believe, as far as the team is concerned, out of which we have shortlisted around 30 odd papers from around 27 organizations. So we have divided this entire program for 2 days into 5 sessions, and there will be a panel discussion tomorrow post-lunch. So 5 sessions we have divided. First session is for innovations on cable technology. Second session is on materials. Third session is on capacity, inspection, testing, commissioning, not capacity, commissioning. And then fourth and fifth session, there will be 13 odd case studies presented by various authors. So we have picked up some eminent personality from the cable wire industry and even from the utilities to chair this session. The first session will be chaired by Mr. Tony Martin from Polycab. Second session will be chaired by Mr. S. Ramaprasad, ex-director of CPRI Bangalore. Third session will be chaired by Mr. Dhruv Palekar, ex-Reliance Infrastructure. Fourth session will be chaired by Ms. Sumita Anand from EIL. And fifth session will be chaired by Mr. B.R. Puri, ex-NPCIL. Besides this, we've got eminent panelists who will be there tomorrow. What we've done is we have picked up dignitaries from various fields. Like in panel, we have Mr. C.C. Reddy from IIT Roper, from academic point of view, and he has been extensively working on cable per se. Then we have from private utility, Mr. Rajesh Bansal from BSCS, from state utility, Mr. Prasad Reshme from MSCDCL, and from laboratory side, testing side, we have Ms. KP Meena from CPR Bangalore, and from manufacturers end, we would be represented by Mr. Amitabh Bose of Universal Cables. And this panel discussion will be moderated by Mr. Sailesh Patel of ERDA Baroda. Besides this, tomorrow morning we have a special whitey paper presentation at around 9:30, which will be presented by Mr. Vivek Dikshit of Mumbai Rail Vikas Corporation on railway application challenges and opportunities in railway. I would also like to thank the co-host, the sponsors for today's and tomorrow's event, Platinum's co-host Polycab, Gold KEI and Universal Cables, Silver ERDA Baroda, Gupta Power, RR Kabel, KEC, Kalpana Industries, Malifor, SB Cables and Starlight Cables. Without their support, this event could not have happened. At the same time, I would like to thank IEEMA Secretariat, Mr. Mishra, Mr. Jay Pandey, Mr. Vivek Arora and their team from Mumbai and Delhi for putting this extravagant event here. Now, I would just like to talk a bit about the cable industry. As I said earlier, the cable industry is the biggest division in IEEMA. So what is the size of this industry? Today we are sitting at a size of about 49,000 crores of electrical cable produced in this country and used within this country and even exported to the other countries. And out of which the low voltage segment, the power cable is around 37%, control and instrumentation is around 12%, high voltage cable is around 9%, EHV cable is around 4%, rubber cables 3%, and light duty cable comprising of wires, flexibles, coaxial, LAN, telephone contributing to around 35%. Out of this 49,000 crore, the estimate what we have is 65% of the cables produced are from the organized sector and 35% from the unorganized sector. And with the introduction of GST, I'm sure the 65% in the coming years will be increased to around 75% as far as the organized is concerned. Cable and wire market in the last 5 years has grown by about 14 to 15% CAGR, and we are expecting this growth to be about 15 to 16% CAGR in the next 5 years. How is it going to happen? I will touch base upon that also. Today we are sitting at 49,000 crore. I'm sure with this CAGR expectation, cable industry in the next 5 years should be at 100,000 crores market in India. So the future is good for the cable industry in India. I will tell you the reasons. Of late, the government has done a lot of activities as far as infra is concerned. Today, the mantra of sir is an authority here, Mr. Batra. I think somewhere I have read that even per capita electricity consumption should go up by around 30 to 40% in the coming 5 years. Then we have, when we say power for all, we have electrification of rural villages. There are a whole lot of incentives or programs announced by the government. Like we have Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gram Jyoti Yojana, then we have integrated power distribution, IPDS, then we have this Amrit project. So all this is going to attract a lot of business for cable and wire industry. Besides this, there is an investment in transmission and distribution where they're trying to increase or improve the efficiency of the transmission of power in the country. Then again, we're talking of installed power capacity to go up. When it's saying that, okay, 40% capita consumption of power will go up, obviously you need power. Today we are talking of nuclear power plant coming up all over the country. There are a whole lot of announcements being made. Then we are talking of increasing the generation from 420 gigawatt, from 296 gigawatt to 420 gigawatt. And the major thrust is on solar. Today we are sitting on a 50 gigawatt, which is likely to be increased up to 175 gigawatt. Besides this, we have seen a lot of expansion, a lot of projects happening in the railway sector. We're talking of dedicated freight corridor, then upgradation of signaling activities, electrification of railway lines. Besides this, You would be reading all over, we were talking of mass transit system, the metros coming up in a lot of the cities. Earlier it used to be Calcutta, Delhi, now it's Bombay, Nagpur, Pune, Ahmedabad, Jaipur, you have Lucknow, you are talking of Indore, Bhopal. So there is a lot of business for the cable industry as such. I'm sure the next 2 days would be very interesting for all of you. We can have deliberations. One thing also I would like to touch upon is last few years the perception level of India has improved in the international market. I am happy to say that cable industry in India has received one of the biggest order, which is worth about 1,500 crore, where the competition with Chinese, Europeans. So the world market is also looking at India in a different manner altogether. So there are a lot of expos happening. Like the way we say, you find every Indian in every country. Likewise, you will find Indian cable and wire available in most of the countries in the world together. We've got huge footprint in UK market. We've got huge footprints in Europe, Australia, New Zealand. So we are supplying a lot of cables to all this country. With this, again, I would like to welcome all of you for this CableWire 2018 conference and look forward to fruitful technical deliberation over the next few days. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Now I call upon Mr. R.K. Chu, Vice President IEEMA, to address you.
Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. At the very outset, apologies from all of us to keep you waiting for some unavoidable reasons. So first of all, I welcome Shri Pankaj Batra, Chairperson CEA, and together with my colleagues on the dais, Shashi, Paresh Panchal and Sunil Mishra, welcome you all to this gathering on CableWire 2018. I don't know how many of you have actually noticed, but the theme of this CableWire 2018 is really very, very catchy, I would say. Powering innovation through safe and efficient transportation of electricity. I think in these few words, the organizers of this conference have tried to cover up everything that is happening today. Shashi has already shared with you in detail that cable and wire division happens to be the largest, biggest division in India, contributing to a business of 49,000 crores in Indian rupee. This is really a fabulous achievement, I must say. Who would not like to associate oneself with a division like this? And not that you have reached this stage, the future is also bright. You just heard from him that the cable industry has been growing at the rate of almost 15% last few years. And the estimate is that based out of various initiatives taken by the government, this rate is further going to accelerate towards 19-20%. There is additional demand from utilities, there is additional demand from infrastructure, railways. All these deliberations will happen over a period of these 2 days. I was really impressed, Shashi and other organizers, when I go through the list of panel discussions and various sessions. You see, per se, general impression is that what is there so technical in cable and wires? Yeah, it is a rudimentary product, but actually it is not so. Those of you who are really going to attend all the sessions these 2 days, you will realize the pains taken by the organizers in properly selecting the various topics, mostly focused on innovation in various areas, and the technology involved in this. You also heard from Shashi that beyond what is happening in domestic market in India, they are also exporting in a big way. And when you talk of exports, the biggest qualifying requirement in this is quality and sustainability, of course. Global market is concerned about sustainability issues also. So both these things are being catered to. In fact, while we were sitting just now, Mr. Batra was asking me as to what is happening on the technology front. So let me assure you, sir, everything is being taken care of here. We would really urge you also to kindly attend one or two sessions in between if time permits and see what these people are doing in India. So as you heard from Shashi, the last CableWire conference took place in 2011 because of certain reasons. It was a big gap of good 7 years. It seems you people were busy minting money. You didn't get time to organize the conference. So my encouragement, request to the organizers here and also to all the members, let's do it every 4 years at least. In fact, in between we were also thinking whether we should reduce this frequency. Is there a case for doing it every 3 years or every 2 years? You can really afford it, the type of business you are doing. So last time when it was conducted, there were 200 delegates and 24 technical papers. And today, I can only make a guess, there are more than 300 audience sitting here. And I just learned from Sunil that all that is happening in this room is also being live telecast on Facebook. Am I right? With little lack of time. So look at the participation of this. And I learned this time there are 31 shortlisted technical papers out of total 60. So this shows the interest of the members and also the quality standards that out of 60, they had to choose only 31. So this also shows the interest. And incidentally, one more interesting statistics I would like to share with you, that wire and cable market in India comprises of 40% of the electrical industry in India. This indeed is a great thing. I mean, whatever you do, you need cable and wire for that. One more aspect I would like to add here in my address today is the innovation part. Last month only we conducted a session on electrical fire and safety in Mumbai, and in fact our plans are to repeat it in other parts of the country also, in north. What I saw clearly in that conclave was that cable and wire play a vital role in electrical fire and safety. If anything can contribute to electrical fire, or if anything can save electrical fire, it is cable and wire. So this is how the two things are interconnected, and I think this aspect will be amply cleared in most of the sessions and panel discussions, that how this industry is helping towards innovation. So in that conclave we had invited who's who of industry, apart from fire officers from various states and also regulators. And Mr. Batra, this Chief Electrical Inspector from CEA, was also there with us here. So these 2 days sessions, what I see will focus largely on the material, innovation, number of case studies, which is very important to learn from others' experiences, testing of cables, and also laying and commissioning practices. That is also important. Because even if you organize or procure a good piece of cable or wire, and if you don't lay it properly or if you don't commission it properly, it can create havoc. Yeah, so this is also important, which you would be learning through these days. One more associated aspect I would like to touch upon this gathering for maybe discussion later on in some other forums also is the menace of duplicate electrical devices, and cables and wires is part of it. So I would throw open this point to the audience over here. Maybe in one of the panels you can spend some more time as to how to avoid this menace. Because on one side we are saying we are quality conscious, but then if there are some spurious manufacturers or some other activities going on in industry, it is our collective duty to avoid it. How to do it, how IEEMA as an association can help you, this is a point to ponder. And one more aspect I would like to share, as you would have seen in last year or so, apart from normal T&D stuff, which IEEMA used to focus earlier, we are now putting a lot of focus on non-utility segment. Yeah, cable and wire goes into utility as well as non-utility, but you will see in times to come, and in fact this is the initiative which our present President Mr. Kabra has really driven down the line in various levels of IEEMA, that the non-utility segment also finds equal priority in our working, and this covers domestic electricals, etc., where again there could be additional demand coming in for cables. So with these words, I really motivate all the participants, also those who have presented the papers, those papers who could not be considered, please don't feel discouraged. There will be a next time, probably next 3 years, 4 years, or in between also. And wish you all the best for a very nice deliberation. Please be attentive, learn something out of this, so that this investment what you are doing in terms of money and time is really put to good use. Thank you very much.
Thank you. At the outset, I want to say that I'm sorry for being late. There was another workshop on optimization software for thermal power plants where I had to be there, and slight delay because of some rains. We were not able to reach in time from Gurgaon. I'm sorry to keep you waiting. Respected Mr. Chugh, Mr. Amin, Sunil Mishra, and Mr. Panchal, and of course all the manufacturers and maybe utilities who have gathered here for the conference on cables. So I do see that cables and wires industry is growing at a CAGR of 15% and may grow even more. We have come a long way in the Indian power sector since the time we really started integrating the grids. We had different regional grids, and even in a region you had different states operating separately. From states we integrated into regions, and from regions to the national grid. We had a perpetual shortage of electricity earlier, right up to I think about 2000 and capacity generation. So we have come a long way. And the Government of India's efforts to see that electricity reaches each and every household by March of next year. This is what we are planning. Not only that, we are exporting power to neighboring countries, Bangladesh, Nepal, and maybe at a later stage, Sri Lanka. So we have grown a lot. When you first see that you just need to make electricity available or enough electricity, then you don't get into finer details. But now we have grown to a stage where we need to optimize everything, where we need to be more efficient in everything. And I'm happy to hear that our Indian cable industry is doing so well internationally. that they're getting large export orders. It speaks volumes at the way we've come up in this industry, in fact, in every aspect of the power sector. So I'm happy that I'm here addressing you all for this. So cables, as Mr. Chugh said, is not such a simple thing. In fact, nothing is very simple when you want to get into efficiency and more of sophistication into any product that you make. There were complaints earlier of leakage from cables and air getting trapped, which resulted in bursting of cables. But now I think all these things are gone by because we are recognized internationally, so obviously all those quality parameters must be met. We have now a lot of renewable generation which is coming. As Mr. Amin said, it's 175,000 megawatts by 2022 and even more later. Expand another 100 gigawatt in the next 5 years after that. In fact, even more, it could be more, because we're doing some study in CA where we may find that in future, after 2022, we may not need any coal-based plant to come up in, except the ones which are already under construction, because renewables prices have already dropped to being very affordable, and the other is the balancing power, which is required to see that intermittency, to take care of the intermittency of renewables. And battery prices, which is energy storage, among the various energy storage things that we have, pump storage and others, you have battery storage prices which have fallen very substantially. So they've fallen about 70% in the last 7 years, and I just learned recently that they've fallen almost 30% in 1 year. So if that's the way things are going, there's a bid which has been called in Germany for about $160 per megawatt hour, which is that includes the inverter. So that's about half of the price of what we were seeing about a few months back. And there are a lot of bidders for that. If that's what it's coming to, I feel that the next 5 years, renewable and energy storage devices would actually become the cheapest source of power. Of course, there's a lot of distributed generation also coming up, rooftop solar PV, which is actually much more affordable now than definitely for commercial and industrial, but also for residential. Because in residential, people who have got high consumption, their tariffs at the highest stage goes up to 7-8 rupees per unit, whereas rooftop solar is much cheaper than that, even for rooftop solar PV. You can get for 3-4 rupees a unit. I think the only apprehension that people have is that they're not sure of the quality of solar cells. We're also getting into seeing that we make standards for evaluation of solar cells. Yesterday we had a discussion, I had a conference call with UL laboratories in US, where they are doing accelerated testing. So you can test out the solar cells maybe in 6 months to see that it would last for a long time, for the entire 25 years. So there are lots of developments which are taking place. There is also an effort from our side, from the Government of India, of increasing the efficiency of solar cells, to make R&D efforts to increase the efficiency, and we are trying to tie up with all the concerned agencies in India who are already doing it, the R&D section of BHEL, IIT Delhi and others. So we are trying to see that the solar and wind is going to be inevitable considering environment aspects that we have. I think that's the way the world is going. In fact, UK has said that all coal plants will be phased out in a few years, so even the existing ones will be shut down. Now, all this would, I think, require a lot of cables for wind and solar, cables would be required much more now in cities which are already crowded and you don't have place for placing overhead distribution lines or sub-transmission lines. Lots of, you just have to go underground and lay the cables. Submarine cables are also, would happen. The one which is the longest one is I think 600 kilometers, which is HVDC cable between Norway and Netherlands, which carries 700 megawatt. But if we do get connected to Sri Lanka, it would likely be submarine cable there also. And you can see the capabilities of these cables. This is as far as the development of the power industry is concerned. Yes, the other thing is where cables and wires would be required to an increasing extent would be connecting each and every household in the future. The Saubhagya scheme, which provides last mile connectivity, which is majorly funded by Government of India. And the states themselves making efforts to do this because this is a basic infrastructure and people have realized that this is what needs to be provided. Actually, it's just right, politically right to do this, to see that basic infrastructure is provided to each and every person in this country. And people's expectations, that the young generation's expectations have increased. So I'm sure now what we thought earlier would take years and years would happen very quickly now. So I am not an expert in technology, but I know that there were certain issues earlier, as I said, where our products were not that good earlier, but now, as I said, it's competing with the best in the world. I congratulate IEEMA for holding this conference, although after 7 years, you said. But I think it's going to become an important product in future, and there will be a need to convene these much earlier. And all the participants who've come here, I think it will be brainstorming sessions or discussions which would lead to further development in this cable industry. Thank you for inviting me, and all the best for the workshop. Thank you very much. Now,
thank you very much, Mr. Batra, for your inaugural remarks. It's always a pleasure to have you with us. And I thank you on behalf of IEEMA for spending time today. It was a busy morning, I'm aware of that. I also thank Mr. R.K. Chuk, Vice President of IEEMA, for being with us today, along with, of course, Shashi and Paresh, who have painstakingly, along with the organizing committee, put together this conference today. I thank all the members of IEEMA who are present today morning, along with the other delegates, authors and technical experts who are going to be part of the conference in the course of today and tomorrow. I would like to thank all the sponsors who have made this conference possible, and also my colleagues in the Secretariat who have worked very hard to put it together, Jyotish Pandey and other young divisional and technical officers which IEEMA has. Very proud to have you with us. We'll start the next session immediately after the tea and coffee break, which is laid outside Thank you very much. Have a very fruitful today and tomorrow in the conference.